welcome back to another Inside Access Control, and I'm pretty excited about this one. I have a friend of mine, Chad Lingafelt from Loc-Doc Security out of North Carolina. Thank you very much for joining.
Hey, Lee, thank you for reaching out to me. I know everything's kind of crazy right now, but I really appreciate you reaching out and that we could take the time to do this.
So really wanted to give sort of, frontline input and sort of voice to what's going on in the market. You're very active online. You've got a great podcast. Highly recommend that too. A lot of work on the LinkedIn side, but you also run a business on a daily basis. And with the, with the current sort of atmosphere of what's going on, just, how you doing? How's it going?
I mean, we're doing okay. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I read a lot of books that have, I feel like, prepared me. I don't want to sound arrogant at any stretch. I don't believe I'm prepared for anything like this, but I do believe that it's prepared me more so than I would have 12, 18, 24 months ago. So I feel stable in what we're going through right now. I feel like we've got a good team around us of people that really care. And so, we're making decisions every day, just like everybody else, and trying to make the best ones. And the way that we've communicated to our team is that, we're going to make bad decisions during this process, but we're committed to communication and we'll work through it.
Yeah, I think that's a key is the sort of, it sounds you're very open and you over communicate, because I got to believe at this point, if you do it over than under, it's probably better. So yeah, you're better off. All right. So that's good. I'm glad to hear you sort of approaching it with a positive attitude on that side. What is something, if I'm a manufacturer that has a channel like and utilizes and works with people like yourself, what do you need right now? Like what could they do that will actually add value?
Yeah, I think from manufacturing standpoint, from distribution, from any standpoint of a vendor to a security installer or a small business, and maybe say that across the board. I know this is very much directed towards the security industry, but finding ways to say, hey, proactively, we're working to either extend terms or to work with you on payments or whatever, because you have to understand at the small business level, right now, everybody's just kind of going back and assessing cash, right? Everybody is understanding at some point spending is going to slow. To what that looks like, to how it impacts each business, and to how you weather through that is going to be dependent upon that specific business. But I can tell you from our perspective right now, and most everybody that I've talked to, it's all about cash reserves. How can you retain the cash that you have on hand and hold on to it as long as you can, so that you can make sure you continue to employ your team members and the people on staff.
Yeah, it's amazing. It always comes back to cash.
Yeah.
So it's funny, but it's true. I mean, that's you need it in order to pay for what you need. So it makes total sense.
Well, I mean, as small businesses, depending on, I saw a survey a couple of weeks back of, the number of employees for the security industry per company. And, the biggest chunk of that was, I think it was 13 to 6 or something like that. So I guess that would be reverse, 6 to 13 employees. And so you got to imagine that there's a lot of those owner operator companies out there that are, not only worried about the income for their family, but income for a tight knit group of people that they're associated with. And so, that's really ultimately what we're trying to, what everybody's trying to figure out is how they sustain that and don't have any interruptions or minimal interruptions for their team.
You can imagine if you do work in the hospitality area or restaurants and that, it's probably got to be tough right now on finding that. But do you see any pockets within your marketplace of business still going, or is it just totally quiet right now?
No, it's actually still functioning. So I try to be as concise as I can. We operate as an organization in a couple of different ways. So we have our service organization, our service team that handles phone calls and requests coming in. And then we have our projects, which is more of a sales-driven initiative. And some of that comes out of the service. But our projects, we have run a backlog of projects for, like 18 months now, or probably longer, but at least in recent memory, 18 months. And so our project teams are now just going, okay, this is a great time that we can actually breathe and get some things accomplished. Right. So as long as the customers still allow us on their facility. So we're seeing a reduction in our day-to-day service request, or a change in it. So it's more of a reaction. Hey, we've got this security issue. We've had to let a bunch of people go. We need to get these doors secured, or we need to change our scheduling on our access systems, whatever. And then we're also seeing our projects essentially ramp up. So, to this point, um, it seems to be stable on that aspect. We are starting to see a decline in sales inquiries, obviously, but for the most part, that's kind of our day to day as we're going about. And one of the proactive measures that we did, starting, I think the Friday that this all kind of started happening, is our customer success team is started to plot out, which we've got pretty good visibility on metrics, but I just wanted them to write it out and get it on the board just so that we could all see it. Phone calls, site visit requests, all that stuff by the day, so that we can kind of track if we do start to feel a slowdown pretty quick.
Well, I like that. So diving into the data, clear visibility and communication again, and transparency, it sounds like sort of the keys to getting through this.
From my perspective, I think that when we kind of started diving through it, it was like, all right, let's get everything as visible as possible. And we've been a very transparent company. If you were to walk through our facility, you're going to see a dashboard with everything in our organization on it, from the number of calls and site visits and all that stuff. But I wanted to get very, for lack of a better word, granular. Is that right? Is that a good word?
Granular. That's good.
Yeah, but
Yeah, you
exactly.
got it.
On those specific things, so that we could kind of track it and say, okay, hold on a second. For the last 3 days, we've seen an absolute stop in phone calls, so we need to understand how to adapt.
Shelter in place. I don't know if the Carolinas is in that yet, but as you look to that being a possibility, I just did it here in Maryland. How do you manage through that? Like,
The last 24 hours, that has been the number one question that I've gotten from everybody in our organization is, what if shelter in place goes in? And everything that I've read, I mean, if there's John Hanovich just released an article on IPVM recently about it, and I'd seen some other people alluding to it, but essentially the way that Homeland Security has stated it, we would fall into an essential service. So I don't see that to be a major disruption for us, other than just a slowdown through all the other businesses that we serve.
right?
Our primary business function is serving property management companies and commercial real estate. That's like a big chunk of it. And what we're seeing right now is that's not being interrupted. They're still maintaining their facilities. Now, have they
Sure.
reduced it down to, emergency break fix type stuff? Yeah, but they're still managing facilities.
And like we said at the beginning of this, I guess we'll close with it. It's about the community. So people reach out. I know folks like yourself, me, others, that if you need help, you're trying to figure out how to get through things, just reach out. There's plenty of people to help. So let us know.
Yeah, most definitely. I had a renewed sense of that this past week as I was going through some stuff and listening to some other folks talk. And community is massive right now, especially when you're in isolation. As business owners, that's a normal thing. You have a sense of loneliness or isolation when it comes to especially making hard decisions and difficult decisions like this. And so I had a renewed sense of that, that this is something that business owners are struggling with right now, and find ways that you can connect with other like-minded people and encourage each other, challenge each other, and like be proactive in thinking through how you can adapt and pivot.
Chad, if there's someone wanted to get a hold of you all, or where's the best way to find out more about you?
Our website, all of the information's there, locdoc.net. And, as you mentioned, we got a podcast. I'm remiss to not mention that, but not to get a shameless plug in this situation, I guess. Now that I say that, probably sounds really bad.
No, go ahead.
But but it's there. We talk about these types of things all the time, ways businesses are implementing strategies. We don't talk about locks and doors and access control and cameras, but we talk about the process of operating a business.
Yeah, no, you won't plug it, but I will. So I'll make sure that we put it up on there and people see it. I watch it. I listen to it. It's really good. You get interesting people in and outside the business. All right, well, thank you. I really appreciate you making the time. Good luck with everything, and we'll stay in touch.
Thanks, Lee.
No problem. Thank you.